Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the season 2 finale of DC Studios' Peacemaker. Yes, we have reached the end of season 2, and I will say straight off the bat that season 2 did not live up to the hype to me. There were moments throughout the season that I thoroughly enjoyed. I really did like it. Overall, I did like it, but I wanted to love it. And it didn't quite deliver. And this season finale really put the button on it for me. It just didn't connect with me, unfortunately. It's one of those things where I watched the episode and I'm sitting there like, well, it isn't bad, but it isn't a season finale. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have that massive cliffhanger or big reveal that you would expect from a show like this that's set in this universe where we're setting up things to come. We're setting up the future of the DC universe, and it really didn't get there with me. Now, with all that being said, there were things that were set up. You know, that's why I'm like, well, it isn't bad, because there were some interesting tidbits to take away from this episode in the season as a whole, to be honest with you, that does set up what's to come, you know, whether it's Supergirl or Man of Tomorrow or other films that are planned or TV shows that are planned throughout the DC universe. But I just wanted a little bit more. And this season finale, it just left a wet fart for me. It was just, when it was over, I was like, eh. It was nothing exciting, nothing to write home and tell mom about. But this season did have its highs. It did have a lot of highs. It did have a few lows, but nothing that was, to the point where I'm like, oh man, this was a waste of time. I don't feel like I wasted my time watching season 2. As I've watched other TV shows, not in the DCU, of course, but just take Marvel for instance. And I hate comparing Marvel to DC like a lot of people do. Two completely different things. Two completely different things. Yes, they're based off of comic books, but different. They're different. But you look at the MCU and you look at all the Disney Plus shows. They did nothing. You know, they did nothing to further along the MCU. Yeah, we got introduced to some characters that they were pretty cool, but the stories that went along with them in those Disney shows didn't work. And a lot of people didn't respond to them. That's why a lot of the films that came out in this past phase and the phase before this, mainly after Endgame, let's put it plainly, they didn't connect with audiences. And with all that being said, not every piece of content that comes out of these studios have to connect. Everything doesn't have to be interconnected. You can make a what if show, that doesn't connect to anything in the main canon of the MCU, and it still be exciting. And that's fine. Same thing here when we're going back to Peacemaker. Peacemaker didn't have to connect to everything that's going on with Superman and with Supergirl that's coming out, or Clayface that's coming out next year, and so on and so forth. It can just be its own thing. Now, throwing in little hints and little nuggets, Easter eggs to show that it is a part of this universe, yeah, that's fine. Having a cameo pop up, like we had one pop up in episode 5, I think that was, with Nicholas Hoult reprising his role as Lex Luthor. That's fine. Having his team pop up that worked with Lex Luthor in the Superman film, pop up in this show, that's fine. But we didn't have to have Superman pop up. We didn't have to have Bruce Wayne or anything like that. And uh, this sets up a bigger threat that would need the Justice League and all this here. That no, you don't need all that. You know, it can be his own thing. And for the most part, it was his own thing. But it felt like during the course of this season that they were setting up something big, and they did. They did. It was a little seed, you know. It wasn't a full plant or a full tree that they're planted, but it was a seed that they planted to move forward. Fine, that's cool. But that wasn't what was kind of sold to me. You know, you may feel differently, and I fully respect that. You know, this is just one man's opinion. But as far as a viewer, as far as a fan of season one, Peacemaker season two didn't live up to season one to me. Season one was excellent. Season one was probably the best show that year it came out. It was that good. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And just to think that Peacemaker is such a throwaway character. You know, it's not even a mainstay in the comics, but James Gunn, to his credit, took him, put him in the Suicide Squad. Uh, when he announced that they were going to do a Peacemaker show after that film, I was like, out of all the characters in that movie, you pick Peacemaker. Why? Why? And I wasn't alone. A lot of people were like, why? Uh, because by the end of that movie, everybody hated him. You know, he's basically a villain. And to redeem that character in the way that they did in season one was excellent. And going into season two, coming off of his cameo, his being John Cena, who portrays Peacemaker, his little cameo in Superman, which was nice. So I guess Peacemaker is bigger than what what we thought he was. But we get to season two, and it's like, it's, we're still struggling here with this character, and all that's good. I will say this. Here's my takeaways, and we're gonna go over this episode, but here's my takeaways of the season so far. The good ones. John Cena proved that he is an actor. He isn't just a movie star or somebody who appears in film and television shows and whatnot. He added so much more. We saw a different side of John Cena that he brought to this character, adding on to what he did in season one. And I loved his progression. I loved his journey throughout this season. Really good. Jennifer Holland as Harcourt, excellent in this role, excellent in this season. Um, so many layers, you know, so many layers to her. And I'm talking about Jennifer Holland, not the character. The fact that she basically played three different characters in this not episode, but in this season, where we get the Harcourt that we know. Uh, we also get the Earth X or Earth whatever James Gunn said it was. He said it isn't Earth X, but whatever, this other Nazi dimension that they were in. She played that version, and then she plays herself. You know, Jennifer, the Harcourt that we know, but she's fighting her feelings inside for Chris. Doesn't want to show her feelings for Chris. And we get that emotional side to her underneath that hardened, tough bully of a character that she is. And man, I bought in every version that she played in this show. Where I think this season kind of fell, where it kind of misstepped, it didn't have a clear direction this season. We didn't get a clear direction on where we're heading. Are we telling Chris's story? Are we telling Harcourt's story? Are we telling the story of this other dimension? Are we telling Rick Flag Senior's story? What story are we going here? And look, it shouldn't just be one story and we stick to it. Yeah, you should have subplots throughout, but it was so much time taking with other characters and it went nowhere. I wanted to see more with the 11th Street gang, and we didn't get that. I wanted to see more, and we got them individually, but not a lot together. Uh, the Rick Flag of it all, he was all over the place. The Rick Flag Senior was all over the place. You didn't know to cheer for him, to boo him, to curse him out, or to understand where he's coming from, and all this. You really didn't know, and you still don't know. As this season wrapped up, you still don't know. Now, this isn't the end, obviously, and going by the end of this episode that we're going to go over. Of course, they set up season 3. That's fine. That's good. But, you kind of want something wrapped up this season. At least I did. And we got nothing wrapped up. Actually, I have more questions than answers going into this season. Let's go over this episode. Let's go over the season finale of season 2 to Peacemaker. As we left off in the previous episode, Chris, he saw his life in this alternate Nazi ran Earth. We saw his future being destroyed. Vigilante kills Peacemaker father. The 11th Street kids. They beat up Chris brother Keith. Almost killed him until Peacemaker begged him to leave him alone, believing that they were about to kill him. And his friends drag him back to the original universe that they're from. Harcourt. She prepares to kill Keith, but the police arrive. They prevent her from carrying out the job, and that leaves us with that little cliffhanger that Keith is alive in that universe. Will he come looking for vengeance against Chris next season or whenever? So there's that. So that leads us into the canon universe, if you will, and Peacemaker gives up the quantum unfolding chamber. He turns it over to Argus and Rick Flag Sr. Chris is taken into custody voluntarily, mind you, in order to protect his friends because he believes that he's cursed, that he's the angel of death. Everybody that he loves or cares for gets killed. So that's where that episode is, and we lead into this season finale. We get caught up. Well, first it starts off with a flashback to the infamous boat that we've been hearing about this whole season between Chris and Harcourt, what took place on the boat. For the entire season, I thought maybe they were on a boat and they got the boom shoom on, but apparently not. It was just a kiss, but it was a passionate, love-filled kiss, and it is the next best thing to the boom shoom, if you could imagine. But we get caught up with the rest of the gang. We see that Harcourt and Economos is working with Argus. They're exploring these different doors in this dimension thing, and we get a scene. We get to see where they go into this Candyland, if you will, and they get greeted by these cute little munchkin things. I don't know what they are, and they just tear their team apart, literally. Literally choose one of the Argus agents face off, and it was brutal. It was a brutal little scene there, but this is all because Rick Flag has sent them in exploring all these. I think they said it's 98 doors or 99 doors to explore these different dimensions for resources. At least that's what the cover story is. from from Rick Flag. So they're exploring these different dimensions and different worlds, and come to find out that Rick Flag is really his real goal is he's trying to find a metahuman prison to whereas he can send all of the metahuman prisoners to this dimension and get them off of Earth and keep Earth safe from these metahumans. And he calls the place Salvation. And I thought that was a deep, sexy cut. It's not really deep if you follow the comics, but they had a comic run, no pun intended, with a Salvation run where all these criminals were on this planet. You know, they sent all of these metahumans there, and they had to fight to get off. I think Lex Luthor was there, Captain Cold, and all of these Man Bat. It was all type of villain. I remember it. I remember reading that run. But anyways, I initially thought he was looking for Phantom Zone. Well, not really looking for it, but I thought they were going to stumble upon the Phantom Zone. But that didn't happen. But we got something else, completely entirely different that really makes sense if you know James Gunn's sensibilities. He wants to do things completely different, something that we've never seen before, and something that is deep in comics for those comic lovers who follow all of these obscure characters, these obscure storylines in comics. And that's one of the main things that I love about James Gunn, what he attempts to do. And so we get a scene where the 11th Street gang, they go confront Chris. They finally get Chris out of prison after after Alibayu convinces Vigilante to let get some of that blood money so they can bail Chris out of jail. And so he gets out of jail and he disappears. And he's about to leave town. He's just trying to stay away from everybody, reevaluating his life and whatnot. And so they tracked him down, and we had a powerful scene here, man. This was the best scene in the show, or at least this episode, I should say, where Danielle Brooks, man, she really brought it in this scene, along with John Cena. They brought it in this scene. I was getting emotional hearing them kind of lay it all out there, if you will. Really good scene. Chris agrees to help him out and try to stop Flag from getting this prison approved, to send all these metahumans because, yeah, some deserve to be there, but not all, but they're going to be there forever. And that's the whole problem with Rick Flag Sr.'s plan. Initially, it's the same plan Lex Luthor had. It's the exact same plan, just without the planet involved. Lex Luthor was imprisoning just people that he don't like in little pocket universes and whatnot. But it's the same exact plan. And that's where it kind of left me in the show. I was like, this is the same. We're recycling the same motivations as the villain in Superman. Come on, man, give me something, give me something else here. But that's what we got. And so we fast forward. Chris gets detained by Argus. They take him to where they have the dimensional door open and bring him to Salvation and leaves him there. And he's like, he exits Flag, like, what's going on? He's like, well, you're going to be the first prisoner here. You're going to test the environment to see what the effects are to the human body and whatnot. And he was like, man, you can't do this and blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, Chris had unknowingly signed off to agree to this experiment, but I think it was forged or whatever the case may be. But it's legit on his end, and it was all because he wanted vengeance. He finally gets his little payback for Chris killing his son. And so for that, I get it. The motivations is sound there. It all makes sense. And so the door closes. As the door closes, you hear animals, giant animals, probably kaijus, I don't know, but it sounds very big, screaming in the distance. And that is the end of season 2. So that's how we are left off. And look, I'm all for a cliffhanger. Who doesn't love a good cliffhanger? I, I'm yeah, I guess I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this leads. It's just the fact that I was hoping for more. I just wanted more out of this season, and not so much like, oh man, I want to see Superman pop up. I want to see more of the Justice Gang. I want to see. It wasn't that. It was. I wanted to see more of Peacemaker, and we really didn't get a lot of Peacemaker. We got a lot of Chris, but we didn't get a lot of Peacemaker, if that makes any sense. And I think the show the season kind of suffered in my eyes for that. Now, like I said, they had some marvelous moments to happen throughout this season. I'm not going to take that away. I think this is a good season. I was just hoping for a great one. Peacemaker season 2, currently on HBO Max, gets a letter grade of a C plus. Yeah, it was decent. It was decent, but not the greatest thing on earth. But hey, maybe I'll do a rewatch now that all episodes are available and you can binge it. I'll probably binge it one of these weekends in the near future and just sit down and watch them all back to back, all 8 episodes. Maybe I'll get a greater appreciation of it. But it just right now, I gotta wash some of the taste of it out my mouth. I'm a little disappointed, just a tad, not a lot. I'm not angry. It's just I just wanted more. That's all I can say. But that's once again just one man's opinion. I would like to know yours. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel. Like this video as well. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me, not only for this review, but thank you for joining me for all the reviews of every episode this season for Peacemaker. It's been fun. It's been fun. Even though this didn't knock it out the park, it wasn't a strike. They did get on base. I give them that much. And I do appreciate you checking me out for this season of reviews. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.